brings us to the change in our agenda tonight, which is to set a public hearing. And as we do that, and you know, Bob, I might just have you come forward and kind of explain what's going on here.
It seems like I was just here asking to enlarge the amount of land, and I was. We just approved an agreement to add the additional portion of land that was going to be used for the stormwater retention, both for our parcel and then in the future for the other parcel. We knew we were going to have to, that adds a couple of environmental hoops, which we started to go through. As the environmental consultant went on site, one of the things he was verifying was, in fact, the location of the underground storage tank that had been reported to be on the other parcel. Jack went out there with the metal detector, outlined it for the environmental consultant. He went out there, measured, sure enough, it's actually on the parcel. And so now all of a sudden, that complicated the whole process of getting approval to add the additional land, and threatens to push it back possibly a couple months, and we're facing deadlines where we really need to move. So we went back to work, rolled up the sleeves, worked with our engineers, figured out a way to maintain that stormwater on the original parcel so that we wouldn't have to add that additional land, and that will hopefully streamline IFA's ability to allow us to proceed. We still have to kind of work with the city's engineer to kind of finalize exactly, but we know enough that we can, through a couple different means. One would be a retention area on the east side of the building, as well as probably storing some of the water in pipes underneath the parking lot that will be able to handle the stormwater discharge on the original parcel. It'll actually, in the end, I think, end up allowing that block to be nicer because you won't have such a big retention area in the southeast corner, but rather it'll be more spread out, and ours next to our building will actually be a very attractive kind of feature that we'll establish. Now, getting back to the underground storage tank. We actually did the testing. We got the results on Friday. The good news is that they haven't been able to test underneath the tank, but they tested around the tank, at least where we're fairly certain it is, not 100% guaranteed, but based on the metal detector and probing, we're fairly certain it's there. We tested around it as well as tested the groundwater, and so the site is a very clean site, so that's positive. It's possible that there could be some contamination under the tank, so for closing purposes, we'll have to pull it out. One of the things, as I discussed last time, is IFA, because there's an identity of interest, we have to sell or purchase the property for the appraised value, and so on a per square footage, that reduced area would be $52,800. Although the city will, I think, come out ahead, because now we're paying for the testing, we'll pay for the tank removal, and those costs will be at least $15,000.
So was this tank, Bob, that was inadvertently not removed when we took the building down, or did we even know it was there?
I think it was kind of missed in the whole cleanup process of the site, so we weren't aware of it at the time that we...
But there were other tanks around there.
Yeah, I think there's a fuel oil tank near the boilers in the old middle school, and then another tank of some sort that they did get out. So.
When our environmental consultant did the phase one initially, the tank was discovered, I guess, as still being there, but the location, the city's initial assumption thought was that it was further south off that parcel. And so it wasn't until we did this further evaluation, and Jack went out there with the metal detector, outlined it, and our consultant actually measured, and sure enough, determined it was on the parcel.
And another part of this, the tank was put in, I think, in the late 60s, and then they actually, as far as the DNR is concerned, the tank is closed because they filled it with sand in the mid-70s. So the DNR doesn't even care about it as far as they're concerned. So this is more of a, Iowa Finance Authority is kind of being the stickler on if there's a tank, it has to come out. But the DNR is saying it's a clean, closed tank and it's off our books as far as we're concerned. So that kind of throws another wrinkle in everything. But I think
That's correct. We could pull the tank and not even test it, according to the DNR, but both Iowa Finance Authority as well as the tax syndicator is requiring that that tank be removed and that we'll test again underneath the tank.
At the time that the city purchased it from the school district, there was an assumption that it was somewhere else than where it ended up.
I think this is an old fuel tank for where the buses fueled up.
Yeah,
So-
years ago, I think the
Yeah, I
buses
think it just
did.
kind of got forgot about at the time that all that work was being done, and then
Okay.
it became an issue later on.
I see.
I don't think anybody who was selling the property, or who had originally owned the property before the city, in other words, I don't think the schools or the city knew it was there at that time. And obviously, we weren't really sure it was there in more recent times.
Yeah, but it was a surprise to Butch when we sent him the email last May.
So it's a surprise, and it would be a temptation to beat up Newbury a little bit and say, oh, we've been through the mill, you guys keep coming back with this, but the bottom line is, they can't help it. And if we had given them the property free of a tank, we'd probably be looking at a building going up right now. So it's, we have residents in Perry that want to live there. I really think we would do well, personally, this is my personal opinion, we would do well to support this effort and get it done, what we have to do. Thank you.
So specifically, we're looking at a hearing 2 weeks from today, or?
December 7th.
And that was the definition of what the hearing's going to involve. We would also have action on that agenda like we do after so many public hearings for approval of what we discuss at the meeting, should the public hearing go well.
I might note, in the meantime, it's our intention to seek approval from Iowa Finance Authority to remove the tank.
I move that we set the public hearing for December 7th regarding the Newbury project at 6 p.m.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
McCollum?
Yes.
Shaw? Yes. Wallen?
Yes.
Stone?
Yes.
Andor? Yes.